Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start our presentation today. Website updates every business should have during the coronavirus outbreak, presented by Oozle Media. My name is Stephanie, and I'm the COO at Oozle Media. And in the last few weeks, I have really been on the front lines, very involved with almost every single one of our clients with what sort of updates in their marketing and their advertising they need to have right now. And when all of this stuff hit, when we knew right off the bat that schools were going to be impacted, things were going to have to change, um, the first three places that we looked at for our clients were their ads, their website, and their social media. And I would say that their ads and social media, really for us, we view those as roads that should lead to your website. So at Oozle, we always use the analogy your website is Rome and all roads need to lead to Rome. We know that websites, people who visit a school's website multiple times, are not only more likely to fill out a form, they're more likely to enroll overall as well. And a website is just a key home base for so many things regarding your digital marketing, and really especially the big point that I like to make sure people understand is the quality of your website is also in some ways a reflection to Google of the quality of your business. And so if your website is not sending out the right information, if it's not functioning in the right way, you are basically not allowing Google to get you more interest and more business. Think about Google's job, right? Google is a company and they are also trying to make money and get more people to use their service. Yes, they are a dominant one, but the reason why they're a dominant one is because they care so deeply about this. And the way that Google gets that information out to people is it relies on people on the internet putting out information. So if in a market there are four beauty schools and one of those beauty schools is putting out good information on their website is optimized, it's easy to use, Google can see that people spend longer times on it. Google trusts that website over the other three. And we all know that if your website is coming up first, you are getting more traffic. I mean, that's a stat that's very well known. The top three spots in search get the majority of clicks. And there's a joke in the digital marketing industry that it's like, if you need to hide something, if you need to, I mean, the joke is really, if you need to hide a dead body, you put it on page 2 of Google because literally no one goes there. And your website is really the place and the home base of your business in the digital world, and it determines your success as far as your organic search, um, you know, people being able to find you, attracting new business. So again, when we heard about the outbreak and immediately started seeing all the ripple effect that it was having on our clients, we knew that the website was an important place to get information up fast. Right now, in this time, if your audience is not aware that you are operating online, you're dead in the water. I mean, and if it's not obvious that you're still available or operating online, nobody is going to make the extra effort to find out. And also, if your competitors are making it clear that they are operating online, they're going to win the market share that you traditionally had. So, the biggest thing right now is I want you to ask yourself, how obvious is it to anyone who stumbles across our company online that we are open online and how we're operating online? And since this is a school audience, I'm going to speak to that more candidly. it needs to be obvious to me if you are doing admissions online or if you are enrolling into online classes. Those are really the two splits that I've seen across our school clients. Either a school is operating with online admission so people can still get the conversation started, they can still get the process started, or schools are choosing or are able within their state to enroll someone into online classes. Um, those are two very different actions, but they still present opportunity for your school to continue to grow and have people enrolling right now, whether that's immediately or down the road. And that needs to be very obvious when someone runs into you. So again, communicate your decisions. I've seen sort of everything across schools in the nation right now. I've seen people who have just decided to close and wait until they are able to lift the quarantine or the shelter in place in their state, and they're doing very limited interactions online. I've seen the complete opposite side of the spectrum where other schools are like, no, this is business as usual for us. We want ads going, we want our admissions people calling, dialing, having conversations. We want our instructors teaching. As much as possible, we are going to keep things normal. Whatever you decide is best for your school, whatever level you're doing that to, it needs to be clearly communicated on your website. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we make sure that our website is sending out the right signals? One of the important ones is to update your CTAs. CTAs stands for calls to action. I want you to go to every page on your website, your home page, your contact page, your program pages, scholarship pages, and I want you to really look at how many of your calls to action involve or send the signal that somebody needs to book a tour, which would imply that they need to physically come to your school right now. If you have calls to action that do not clearly state how someone can operate online with you, then the assumption and the signal that you're sending out is, oh, you would have to come physically to my location. You would have to leave your home. You would have to break rules or do things that make people very uncomfortable right now. So go through your entire website, look at every form, every button, every link at the bottom of the page, every place where you have told someone to do something, and make sure that that call to action still makes sense. Make sure that it is correct for the context in which we are currently operating. And these are some examples of CTAs that we've seen and been using over the last couple weeks. And again, the CTA needs to reflect what your school is actually doing. So if you are enrolling into online classes, holy cow, that needs to be your call to action. Start class online, enroll online, chat with us, get the process started virtually, take a virtual tour. I don't love the term distance learning. I know that that's something that is heavily used within the education industry. For your average Joe, online classes and online learning gives an immediate understanding of what's going on. Distance learning creates a lot of confusion. What does distance learning mean? Does that mean I still have to come into the classroom, but we're going to be sitting 6 feet apart? Am I learning from home? I don't understand what distance means. And so I do recommend using the term online. Virtual is another one that I've kind of been on the fence about. A virtual tour usually implies that you're going to have some sort of interactive, 360 tour, similar to like what real estate uses when they're selling a house and you can look at the house online. What I really think we should be doing as schools is giving people a beautiful video that shows our admissions person, shows the inside of our school, and is also intersliced with video or photos of what our school looks like when it's full, when it's busy, when things are normal, and shows faces of students. A video like that really, what somebody usually gets from a tour is they get a sense of what is the school like. So don't overthink your tour video. Really what you're aiming for here is, are people seeing my school? Are they connecting with a face on my admissions team? And are they also getting some visual photo or sense brought to them of what my school looks like when it's busy? One of the things that I saw one school do that I really liked is they had interspliced or edited in video from a past event into their tour video. And I thought that was awesome because it showed like the buzz and a lot of people in the building and just kind of this energy and excitement of getting ready for an event. So if you have anything like that, I think that that would be good in your tour video. But really, again, what we're looking at here is go look at all your calls to action, do an audit of the calls to action on your website, and make sure that they are asking people to do something that makes sense, that those calls to action still make sense for the time that we're in, and that they're not sending confusing signals. Also, you need to do this in other places as well. So go audit your calls to action on your website, but do it on all of your ads, all of your social copy, all of your landing pages, all of your social posts. Anywhere where you are telling people to do something, you got to go back and make sure that all of those calls to action make sense, because your website isn't actively popping up in someone's face. It's usually your ad or your social post that is. And if those don't have the right calls to action, they're not going to make it all the way to your website. So make sure that all those roads that lead to Rome and have a call to action involved are also updated as well. Okay, so the next thing that we recommend is that you create a banner on your homepage, or just something very obvious on the homepage. This has shifted a bit from the last couple weeks. So when all of this first hit, the first banner that we were putting up for people was COVID-19 information. How are we keeping people safe while our school or our salon is open? And we had, a lot of people were talking about all the safety precautions they were doing, all the ways they were making sure people weren't catching the virus there. That has changed. I mean, most schools are 100% closed right now. There aren't salons open. So the banner that we need to create now, again, needs to reflect how people can do business with you right now. If what they can do with you right now is get the process started, get a conversation started with admissions, then your banner needs to be all about that. It needs to say, don't wait on your future. Click here to start a conversation about what it would take to begin an education in beauty. Because that is what you're doing. Your way to interact with people is to start a conversation and get the process started. A lot of people don't understand there's a whole process that you have to go through before you start school. And so if that is what you are able to do right now, then get as many people starting that process as possible. If what you are doing right now is allowing people to enroll into an online class start date in like May, then your banner needs to be all about start class in May. So whatever you are doing, whatever operation you are going off of, that's got to be very clear. And the thing that I like about the banner is it sits right at the top. And it should be very simple, and it should click to a page that gives more information on what exactly you want them to do. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. It's actually the next tip. It's posting updates on your blog. So that banner should link to a blog post. And again, in the beginning, when we were doing safety measures, like click here to find out how our school is operating safely, the blog post usually talked about, spacing out student work areas, sanitizing things every night, stuff like that. And that was the right information to have. The right information to have now is a blog post on, again, how you're actually operating. So if you are enrolling into online classes, the blog post that your banner should click to is, what does online learning at my school look like? What does it mean? And answer a whole bunch of questions around the ambiguity of, could I truly be successful in my education if I have to start it online? And when we have done these blog posts for schools, the thing that we have emphasized is online is temporary. We want you to have a successful education. The reason why we're doing online learning right now is because we don't want you to have to wait. We know that a lot of people have been laid off. A lot of people are thinking about what their life is going to look like when things get back to normal. And there are some people who very quickly need to make a career change or feel like they are actively moving towards a new career. And the only way to do that is to get new skills, new education. So our blog posts have really sent the message like, we're doing online learning because we know it's important for you to get started right now. We want to give you the peace of mind that you don't have to wait. But this is temporary, and ultimately the best education you're going to have is in the classroom. So we're very excited that we can offer you online learning right now and then get you into the classroom when things are going back to normal. If the way you're operating is that you're doing online admissions, your blog post needs to be all about what they need to do to get all the way up to being ready to actually enroll in class. So it would be things like, hey, let us talk to you about what a virtual tour means. Let us talk to you about what online admissions means and the kind of conversation we're going to have. Here are some points that we're going to talk to you about when you connect with our admissions person. Here is the video that we want you to watch. And if you don't watch it ahead of time, we'll watch it on the phone or on Zoom together, and we're going to talk about it. And again, what you're trying to do with these blog posts is dispel the ambiguity so that people feel comfortable making the commitment to get in touch with you. It's like, okay, I understand that you're doing online learning, but until I get a little bit more information that makes me go, oh, I can actually envision myself doing this, I am not ready to fill out a form on your website. And so your banner has to take me to a blog that creates that sense of vision, that sense of inspiration and positivity, so that then I feel comfortable truly booking a virtual tour, starting the conversation with your admissions folks. Really, please make it as easy as possible for people to get a hold of you. Because right now, if there is any friction in using your website or filling out a form, or I do see a lot of people maybe starting to think about a chat on their website. None of that is helpful if somebody isn't still immediately getting back to people. So make sure that you guys are reducing any friction between somebody finally feeling safe enough and confident enough to fill out a form. We got to be all over the next touch point that happens. Are they getting an immediate text message? Are they getting an immediate email? Are they getting an immediate phone call? And whatever those responses have, remember, those likely have calls to action in them as well and have some sort of message in them. You also need to make sure that those messages are correct and are contextual. They can't say things like, thanks for filling out a form, we're going to call you to book a tour. No, it needs to say, thanks for filling out a form, we're going to be in touch to do our virtual tour together, things like that. Like I mentioned, one of the friction points that we've seen is admissions and how quickly they're able to get in touch with someone or respond to someone, you definitely want to strike while the iron is hot. We've known that that's always been true. So a lot of people have been talking about adding chats to their website. We've had some people ask about Facebook Messenger, auto response, things like that. I think all of those, anything that allows you to quickly engage with someone, is a good idea to the extent that you're actually going to use it correctly. So a chat on your website doesn't help if the admissions team is not quickly getting back to people on there. Same with a Facebook message or like an Instagram DM. The longer that those sit, they deteriorate even faster than a form fill, because those are on platforms where people expect an immediate response. If I fill out a form on a website, I'm okay if you take a day to get back in touch with me. I've given the sense that a website is not an immediate communication tool. A chat or social media feels like it should be immediate. So these are helpful to the extent that you are able to be all over that immediate communication. Okay, so what does this all look like together? Here's an example of a school that has a pop-up, a banner, something on the home page. And again, it's kind of a 1-2 punch. I think that the biggest thing, again, that we want you guys to focus on is going through your website as a user and really asking yourself, is the information that my website is giving out to people right now, does it accurately reflect the most important thing I want them to do and the most important thing that I want them to know right now? And typically, I just want to go back here a little bit. Sometimes we don't normally recommend having a pop-up on your website, but I think the power of a pop-up right now is that it's something that catches someone's attention and gives them a very quick burst of information, and then they can close out of it. And it's a little bit like a guarantee that, or not a guarantee, but a better guarantee that somebody is getting that very concise, most important information that you want them to know right now. So this would be something like a lot of the pop-ups I've seen for our clients, again, are very simple. They pop up and you want to keep them simple because remember, a lot of people are on mobile, and pop-ups on mobile can get very hairy and very ugly quickly. So, it's a simple pop-up that says, hey, we are enrolling into online classes. If you're interested in this, we just need you to fill out a form on our website and we'd love to talk with you. Or the pop-up is saying something like, hey, our students are currently doing online learning, and we are filling future classes. So if you want to start the conversation about getting one of those seats, fill out a form and let's talk. So I hope that that's been helpful to you guys in terms of a checklist, some things that you can go through to think through, okay, is my website updated? Is it giving me the information that I need to be sharing? I do see that we have some questions. So what I'm going to try and do right now is actually exit out of my presentation, and I will be going through some questions. So transcript of the webinar. We are going to put the recording of this webinar up on our blog. We do have a blog post already written regarding this on the Oozle Media blog. So we'll be adding the recording there and we can send those out. Another question from an Oozle client. Will you be updating our website accordingly? Yes, please get with your account manager. A lot of the struggle that we are trying to make sure goes more smoothly is there does need to be a lot of communication between clients and any agency that you're working with right now. I know that a lot of Oozle clients work with other agencies who are handling other aspects of their advertising for them. Make sure that you get an accurate picture to your account manager of what you're doing online so that they can go through this checklist and make sure that they're covered and giving out the right information. One of the things that we've been super paranoid to do right now is spread misinformation. And so we've taken the tactic of withholding information rather than spreading the wrong information. We really don't want any of our schools to get in trouble. So get those phone calls, touch base, overshare is what I would recommend. Overshare your information because it may spark to our team another idea, something else that we could do to be helpful to you. Okay, so I have another question. Is Hootsuite the best place or platform for admissions to receive all messages from prospects via social media? Great question. Here is my take on all tools. Tools, again, are only helpful to the extent that you know how to use them and you are going to use them. So the analogy I use a lot when people ask us about what digital tools they should purchase is a Swiss Army knife versus like a hammer or a screwdriver. Sometimes all you need is a hammer. And frankly, if you are a school that doesn't have multiple locations with multiple admissions teams, you could probably keep it pretty simple and find a tool that does allow your admissions people to just check everything in one place if they feel like that's needed. Honestly, if you're not getting bombarded, have them manually check Facebook and Instagram, at least once a day. For folks whose operations are larger, are more intense, or if people, even if you're a smaller school, but you feel like you're getting a flood of communication, again, I understand the need for a tool to make life easier for the admissions team. Hootsuite is one. I'm loving right now, actually, a tool that I'm loving in the social media world is called Later, Later. There are lots of tools, frankly, that allow you to check your social media via desktop or all in one place. Whichever one you choose, just make sure that your team is bought in and that they know how to use it correctly and that they are going to use it. Because I've seen very expensive tools purchased with the best intentions and then never actually used by the team. So, make sure that you have buy-in from the team, see what suggestions they have or any platforms that they're already familiar with, that they're more likely to use. And again, just be thoughtful about how helpful is the tool being to you guys? Are you using it? Is it worth the money that you're paying for it? Okay, this is a little off topic, but I wanted to share something else. Let me resume my screen sharing here. So I've been looking at Google Trends. I've been watching Google Trends pretty closely over the last few weeks, and I wanted to share what I'm seeing with you guys. So hang on, let me move my toolbar up so I can see this. Okay, so these are search terms, hair school and beauty school. And this chart starts at the beginning of March. So as you can see, the number 100 indicates how hot or how searched this term is. So, a low number means that there's low interest, and a high number up to 100, hitting 100 means that there is like peak interest in this term at this time. So I have this filter set to the whole nation. This is not for your market, so this will vary per market, but I wanted to give an overview of what the country is looking like right now. So at the beginning of March, the term hair school was pretty high, pretty hot. Like you can see it hits 100 or close to 100 multiple times between early March to about March 11th. This is middle of March is when we really saw things start to go down. And so, of course, you can see that reflected in the chart here. We start dropping, we start dropping. Holy cow, beauty school goes down to 16 out of 100 at the end of March. But let me show you where we're at now. So and here's again, I'm just sharing the data. This may feel different in your market, but we try and read the data so that we don't just go off of hunches or feelings. But here's how I'm interpreting this. So the end of March, I see things get pretty low. You know, hair school as a term hits 28. Beauty school as a term goes down to 16. Whoa, that's really low. Now, as we've gotten into April and we're hitting mid-April, you know, it's certainly not at 100, but I am seeing hair school pop back up over 50. So again, you know, we're getting on the right side of getting closer to 100 that I would like to see. Beauty school, you know, it's still not quite there yet, but I'm seeing it hit again closer to that 50 mark. And let me share this other one with you. So this is barber school and cosmetology school. You know, barber school in March, again, we know that kind of seasonally we were going into a valley off of January. So February had a decline from January. March is usually when we get low again. So with barber school and cosmetology school at the beginning of March, again, going off of that 100-point scale, they were at like 62. Cosmetology sees a pop, you know, back up and then kind of starts its decline again. And then, you know, things fall off the cliff really about mid-March and just continue to go down. Let's fast forward over here. So about April 8th, and again, this is kind of what we saw and what we're reading across the board is the middle of March to the end of March was a period of uncertainty. There were some states that were already closing. There were other states that said like, we're not quite there yet, but it still felt kind of dangerous and people were unsure of what was happening with the virus. Schools were starting to close. People were starting to figure out online education. Really, it's been in the last week that I've seen a lot more schools get very, very confident in what they're doing and how they're going to do it. And once they've communicated that out through their marketing, things start to pick up for them again. So I do see a little bit more of an uptick in April. And look at where cosmetology school ended up yesterday, or the 14th. So that was 2 days ago. Again, I mean, that's a nice little upswing in interest in cosmetology school. Now, barbering school saw more of a peak in early April and seems to be on the decline right now. But again, think about events and things that are starting to happen. You know, we just got another unemployment report today. 22 million Americans over the last 3 weeks have been furloughed, laid off. People are actively in the mindset of figuring out what's going to happen next for them and what they're going to do with their career. And frankly, a lot of people are thinking about how they can make life better than what it was before. And for a lot of folks, that's going to include new education, new skills. I've also been reading, and I haven't seen schools talking about this as much. And I do think that in May, this will probably be the next push we would want to make for our clients, is helping people understand, you know, from the CARES Act, the last thing that I heard was there were senators, lawmakers who were really pushing for the state or for the Department of Education not to include for-profit schools in funding via the CARES Act. That did not go through. And so the latest that I read is that there is money allocated to schools, there is a requirement of how much of that needs to go as grants to students, as like emergency financial aid to students. And then there's another portion that schools get to use, I'm assuming for things like rent, payroll. Again, I'm going to put this in here. Market share is opening up. So if you can use some of that government money to cover things overhead, things like payroll and rent, you really need to take whatever other money you have and make sure that you are protecting the market share that you once had, and also taking advantage of people who have exited the market and are leaving an opportunity for you. As you can see by these charts, demand is not where it was in early March. It's going to take a little bit for things to feel normal, but there are things happening. And if you are not showing up, if your website is not communicating things, if your ads are not making it to people who are thinking about what's next, you are going to lose to the people who are showing up. Okay, so I'm getting a message saying that admissions teams do not discuss the CARES Act. Okay, that's good to know. Always want to stay compliant and make sure that things are safe to talk about. That's why we're doing a webinar tomorrow with Rob from SalesCom to do an update on admissions consulting, things that we see working, things that we shouldn't be doing right now or don't seem to be going well. And hopefully Rob, I'll circle up with him and say like, hey Rob, I brought this up on my webinar and you may need to address it on yours, but what do we need to understand both as an agency and as schools and as admissions folks about what things we should be talking about? Because people are aware that there is aid out there. They are aware that the government is offering something, and it's likely that they're going to start asking some questions about what does that mean for you as a school? What does that mean for them as a potential student? And I just want to take a minute here. I feel like I saw Michelle, and I think I saw a raised hand. Hang on, Michelle, can you hear me? I think I just unmuted you. Can you try talking?
Yeah, I just sent a question in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So again, I'm just throwing this out there because I don't know, maybe our interpretation's different. I heard your term on the online classes. We have been told by our compliance team that we have to be very careful with that terminology because of NACIS and being approved for being able to do classes remotely. And so they are really cautioning us that we have to use distance learning or other terminology. So again, maybe we're gone too extreme on that terminology, but I just am throwing that out there because
that's great.
I wanted to use the term online, and I was told I had to be very careful with it because we can't, ours are not online, they're distance/remote learning because of the whole getting credit for the hours. But again, I just am throwing that out there just in case anyone else has been able to dig into that deeper to see if it's right okay to use that terminology. But that was why we were cautioned away from using that terminology.
Yeah,
that's why we're seeing that on a lot of our schools.
I wish that I did have all the answers there. I mean, frankly, I don't. And I do know that in discussions I've had with some online LMS folks who are working with schools, if the school is using their LMS, that is technically online learning. But I could totally see where if somebody is only using like Zoom or some other distance learning, how that is different from like an online course or online platform that is like an LMS. I don't know.
Yeah, so anyways, I just thought I would share that. Maybe that's why I know we've stayed away from that term.
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. No, I appreciate that. Again, I know that as an agency, we really look to our clients to help us understand what terminology and what CTAs they're comfortable with. I do think, and I've always seen this in the industry, you know, there are folks who do feel like they're better informed or have a better understanding. Um, I think it's a great point. It's definitely something to check, but once you know what that is, I would say whatever that terminology is, if it is distance learning, then it's doubly important that your website copy, your landing page copy, your blog that distance learning links to explain exactly what that is. That is super important. Give me, as a user, as somebody who's researching school, as much context around what you mean and what this looks like around your operations, so that again I feel comfortable engaging with you and feeling like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. And honestly, this was true before the pandemic. Like, a lot of times we've seen success with sharing information about what a tour is, what questions to ask on a tour, because a lot of the calls to action are just book a tour. And as people research and as they engage with your brand, if the term tour felt ambiguous or they didn't understand what that meant, or it felt like you were asking them to get married on a first date, like, man, I have to drive to your school and spend an hour or two with a person I've never met before, that feels like a big commitment. The more that you can dispel that ambiguity and give them context and make them comfortable with, hey, here's what I mean by distance learning. Here's what I mean by online learning. Here's what I mean, by a virtual tour. I think that will be very helpful, and again, give you the best chance at capturing the people who are, the ones represented by this uptick in interest. Okay, so there was a question about registering for the admissions webinar tomorrow. I believe there will be another email going out. Um, hey, Joe, I see you. I saw your comment. I'll make sure that you get the link as well. And yeah, I think that hopefully Rob will be able to speak a little bit more to the conversations that we've seen happening and the feedback that we're getting from schools on the success of their virtual tours. I know that'll be interesting to most of you, so we'll work on getting that link out again. Okay, for now, I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope that today was helpful. Please go do an audit of your calls to action. Make sure that you're sending out good signals. Make sure that your website is home base, that it's a good roam for you, and that it's doing the work to help you capture these folks over here on the high end of interest in cosmetology school. Okay, we'll speak to you guys again soon. And thanks for attending, and stay safe.